There were many thousands of men and women from the British military who were sent to serve in Afghanistan. Prince Harry was one of them. In fact, he did 2 tours before this one in 2012 when he co-piloted Apache helicopters. He also served very much on the ground in 2008. So when he heard what Donald Trump had said overnight, his blood, like that of many military families today, started to boil. So what exactly did Donald Trump say about British and other NATO troops in Afghanistan?
We've never needed them. We have never really asked anything of them. You know, they'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan or this or that. And they did. They stayed a little off the front lines.
Harry woke up in the UK this morning. He's been here for his court case against the Daily Mail. Hearing Trump's words, so wrong and insulting to so many, he felt compelled, duty-bound even, to respond. I served there, he wrote. I made lifelong friends there, and I lost friends there. Thousands of lives were changed forever. Mothers and fathers buried sons and daughters. Children were left without a parent. Families are left carrying the cost. Those sacrifices, he wrote, deserve to be spoken about truthfully and with respect. And that lack of respect, as Harry put it, was also condemned by the Prime Minister.
So I consider President Trump's remarks to be insulting and frankly appalling. And I'm not surprised they've caused such hurt to the loved ones of those who were killed or injured, and in fact, across the country.
So what of the special UK-US relationship, the one which was supposed to have been strengthened by President Trump's state visit last September? And what about all those other NATO countries where soldiers gave their lives?
For the current American President, Donald J. Trump, to insult his allies, America's allies like that, the young men and women who laid down their lives alongside their American and other alliance colleagues, is nothing short of appalling. And frankly, it is beneath contempt.
One of the military charities Harry supports is Scotty's Little Soldiers. As the name suggests, it supports the little ones who lost a parent.
When anyone talks about something negative around our troops in Afghanistan, I think it has a real knock-on effect to so many people. It's personal, right? And it hurts.
And it really does hurt tonight for 457 families and the many hundreds more who have life-changing injury. Chris Ship, News at 10.
Well, the war in Afghanistan was the first and only time that NATO invoked Article 5, the principle that a strike against one member is a strike against all. It came in the wake of the 9/11 terror attacks, with the alliance pledging to stand with America in its darkest hour. It was NATO's longest and most challenging mission ever. At its height, more than 130,000 alliance troops were involved, and over nearly 20 years, there were more than 3,500 coalition deaths in Afghanistan. The US suffered the highest number of losses, almost 2,500. 159 Canadian soldiers lost their lives, 90 from France and 62 from Germany. The vast majority of the 457 British fatalities took place during 8 years of heavy fighting in the Taliban stronghold of Helmand. Rachel spent the day hearing from the families of those who died, as well as those injured in action. They know just how much was risked and lost on the front line.
At 22, Lance Bombardier Ben Parkinson was serving in Afghanistan. When his army vehicle hit a landmine, he lost both legs, broke his back and was brain damaged. Catastrophically injured on the front line.
Ben lost his career, he lost his regimental family, he lost his home.
And so imagine how painful it must have been for Ben's mother to hear the US president claim that NATO troops stayed a little off the front lines.
Can you describe how you felt hearing those words this morning?
The tone of Donald Trump's voice, the words that he used, an absolute dismissal of the sacrifice and the effort and the commitment that British and NATO forces put into Afghanistan, an absolute disgrace.
Go!
ITV News joined British troops in their brutal and lengthy battle with the Taliban. And grief ran deep. Time after time, the small Wiltshire town of Royal Wootton Bassett became a focal point for repatriation. Among those who passed through was Sergeant Sean Binney. He joined the army at 16 and was shot dead while fighting insurgents at 22.
It's just trodden over Sean's memory and every other soldier's memory. And I just think it's absolutely appalling. And it's okay for the Prime Minister to say, oh, well, I think he should apologise. No. You should be standing up for your troops and your veterans.
A sentiment echoed tonight by Ben Parkinson himself, a man who was never expected to walk or talk again, yet has cycled and trekked across the world for good causes.
He was proud of what he'd done, and no one is going to take that away by referring to him as some kind of sidelined, making up the numbers. That was not fact, and it shouldn't be allowed to be recorded as such.
Ben Parkinson went beyond the front line, working with and protecting American troops. To try and rewrite history is, for his mother, unforgivable. Rachel Townsend, News at 10.
Well, in a moment, Robert's going to bring us the reaction from Washington. But first, I'm joined in the studio by Chris. And we were talking earlier in the day saying that we thought that these words of President Trump's would prompt some sort of reaction from Harry, but perhaps not a statement like this.
No, I think, Julia, if you were to ask me this morning, as I think actually you did, do you think Harry will respond to what Donald Trump has said? I would have said no. He's just about to head back to the US and he's had, him and his wife have had some war of words with Donald Trump before, of course. And I think he would have probably, stepped around this one. But there's one thing I think you learn about the military community, of which Harry is a part and has been a part, is they really do stick together through thick and thin. And this was a moment of thin when Harry really did need to sort of come to their aid. And it does open up questions now, and it's not for the first time this week, of course, because this happened over the Greenland issue. Should King Charles cancel or not go to this trip, this state visit to America? I'll tell you what, it hasn't even been announced yet. Buckingham Palace haven't even told us it's happening, but everyone's now going, well, here's yet another reason that the King should not go and see Donald Trump, which I believe is penciled in for some time in the spring. And I think, Julie, just to finish on a personal reflection, I mean, I spent a long time in Afghanistan with British troops. I went to all of those sort of outposts that we used to talk about a lot, Sangin, Musa Qala, all over Helmand province. And, the British troops were very much on the front line. This wasn't a little way off the front line. Helmand province was smack bang on the front line. And a lot of people shed a lot of blood in that place. And to hear Donald Trump say what he did, I think most people will agree is absolutely inexcusable.
OK, thank you very much indeed, Chris. Well, let's cross to Robert now. And in a week when it's really been tested already, another test for the so-called special relationship, I suspect we might know the answer to this, but any likelihood, do you think, of any apology from President Trump?
Oh, I think a key point to understand from Washington tonight, despite that sort of cross-party shock and outrage in Britain, is this isn't an apologetic or a chastened president, but rather an emboldened one. I mean, today on social media, he posted about the Davos visit, where he made those infamous comments to Fox News and described it as a great one with many good things accomplished. And tonight, again, he has attacked Canada, not literally, I should add, but on social media, saying that Canada doesn't support his proposed Golden Dome missile defense system in Greenland and is doing business with China instead. And he commented that China will eat Canada up. And remember, despite the shock in Britain about these Afghan comments, Donald Trump has a long history here of insulting US veterans. If you'll remember, Julie, a decade ago, he belittled the war hero Senator John McCain, who was captured and tortured by the North Vietnamese for over 5 years. And Trump's response to that is, I like people who weren't captured. He had a long-running feud as well with a Muslim American family who lost their son in Iraq, and reportedly he once described America's war dead as losers and suckers, a comment the White House ferociously denied at the time. The bottom line is that this president doesn't kind of do apology, at least only rarely. His whole mantra is about never apologise, never sort of back down. And I finally just share Chris's view that the royal visit proposed for this spring, I think, is increasingly fraught. I spent some of this week with some very senior British diplomats here, and they were deeply alarmed and had a real sense of foreboding about the special relationship, if, Julie, we can still call it that tonight.
Indeed, Robert, thank you very much indeed for that. Thank you.